I don't see the screen.
Okay, you ready? We're going to get started again. We're going to start this session with yearbooks. This is a region-specific award that you can enter at the regional convention. Just a heads up, the alumni have been working on reworking the rules for this award. We should have those ready within the next week and have those online. We're going to kind of go through it for you though today, just to kind of give you the information. But I don't want to say cleaned them up, but we did some tweaking on the rules and the judging sheets here for you. So it's kind of what we're going to do. We're trying to get it finished out, so we're not quite there yet. So that's why you don't have copies of this yet. Basically, your yearbook is going to have a theme. You're going to want a theme that's going to be consistent throughout your yearbook, something that recurs throughout the whole yearbook. It may be the current study topic. It doesn't have to be, but it might. You're going to have a cover on that. We're going to go through what's supposed to be on the cover, and the content, the revisions that's in your book, the copy that's there, how it's all presented, and stuff like that. Again, it doesn't have to be tied to the honor study topic. You want a quality thing, something, again, 2 years ago someone used Harry Potter. Or was that last year?
Last year.
Last year. They all see that. 1 year we had Star Wars. I mean, there was Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland. So I mean, those are some of the. We had someone that used names of prom. I mean, so there are different things. They could just be creative with it. You want to come up with those things. Your cover. One thing to keep in mind on your cover must include the title of the yearbook, the name of the chapter, the name of the school, the city and state of the school, and the dates or the time period of the yearbook. Now, we have been doing yearbooks from regional to regional if you've worked on yearbooks before. We are changing that. We're going to change yearbooks to match your honors and study topic and college projects. So it's going to go the calendar year, just like all your other Hallmark awards do. So we'll go from January through December. So keep that in mind if you're working on your yearbooks. So with regional convention, and we're bringing it back to the regional convention for judging. Okay, we've done it at honors for the last 2 years. So at the regional convention, your yearbook would be from January of 2016 through December of 2016. You have to have a preamble that's in front of your yearbook, kind of a story. You want to have the divisions. Divisions are our four hallmarks, and they need to be in order. What the order is?
Scholarship, leadership,
Service and fellowship.
Scholarship,
Leadership, service,
and
fellowship.
And that's on one of these rule sheets, so you'll have all that when we do get this ready to go out. We also, when you do that, the judges are looking for that division to know exactly where you're starting your scholarship, or exactly where you're starting your service, or exactly where you're starting your fellowship. We need to see those information, those items. You want to make sure you put what we call copy. When you have a picture, who's in that picture? You may not know all the names. Okay, maybe it's chapter members. But what it is and what they're doing. Someone looking at this and goes, okay, well that's a good picture. What is it? When you have a page, you want to know what that page is on. Say you put a page in your book for your color project, actual project. This is our, you want to describe what that whole event is and the pictures that relate to it, and who are in those individual pictures.
Some of the groups last year had multiple pages that described the same event. The problem was you actually need to make sure that each page is labeled with that event as well. Okay, so make sure that that also happens.
sorry. Yes?
So if it's gonna be now, the academic, I mean, as
The
a
calendar
year from January to December, in most cases, the chapters, the officer team is gonna change. Is that gonna still work?
Well, that's gonna, well, see, it's gonna work like your hallmarks do. If your officer team changed for your hallmarks, that's why we're tying it to the hallmarks. Since your hallmarks run January through December, we're having your yearbook run January through December. Does that make sense to you? You see what that's why we tied it that way, so that they're both, everything you're doing is on that same time span, the same timeline. So when we get this out, you'll see these. We do have required elements. These are points that you can get. So I say clean it up. There were some things in there, if you missed it on one, you missed it like 3 times. So we removed all the duplicate entries and put it where it's only one. So under the theme, we make sure that there's unity, that it's each section relates together and is tied together, that it's appropriate, it's in good taste, that it's, again, continues throughout the book, and then the quality and design of the book. When we're looking at the cover, we look at the cover and say, okay, do they have the name? Yeah. Do they have the title? Do they have their chapter? Do they have their school? Is that all those, we're just checking that stuff off. As long as you've got that on the cover, you've got those points. Does it include the title page? These are just different sections here. Does it have the preamble? Are the divisions labeled? Are they in order? Does your yearbook cover the proper time period? That you didn't include previous year stuff. Since we've changed it, it may not be as hard to do that this year. Each of the hallmarks is there, it's in order. That each item's divided, each event is included with the headline. The event includes a paragraph. The photos are there. The copy is legible. And then, of course, the yearbook is sturdy. Last year we had one on the small part. It just, screws came loose, we fixed it, but I mean, when we picked it up, it came apart. Grammar's flawless, spelling, we do look for that. Then what we've done is we've changed it to say optional points. There are 2 things that are optional. Are you going to want to do them? Most likely, yes. But they don't count against you if you're not there. And that's a dedication page and a thank you or acknowledgement. So if you want to dedicate your book to someone, you can. Get you an extra point if you do. And then there's thank you. So that if you want to say thank you to your alumni or advisors, members, whatever, you can put that in there as well. Again, that doesn't count against you if you don't, but you get an extra point if it's there. And then the judge's creativity section still in there. It's 5 points. That's up to the judge. We've added some information there as to how that it is purely subjective, so that you realize that that's their main deal on your yearbook. So we hope to have this ready this weekend, or not this weekend, next weekend, so we can get it online for you to start looking at if you want to consider doing a yearbook. And again, it will be for the calendar year, and we're moving it to being due at regional convention. What did I miss, Candace? I kind of skimmed it fast. Page numbers, make sure you put your page numbers in there. I didn't say that, but it's in here. We have people that forget their page numbers. And before you lost 3 points. But we've changed that. You will only lose 1 now, but at least, but still.
Every point? Yeah,
Every point counts.
For now, we will get this document fixed and emailed to you.
And it will go on the Texas website. I think Debbie asked us to get that to her as well, so she can put on. You're gonna put this on the yearbook guidelines on the website as well.
This is our one kind of living creation at the moment.
So we're working there. We're getting there. We're almost there. And we're working on the digital one. We should have that. If you want to do, you can do either the traditional type yearbook where it's a book, or you can do a digital style.
But you can't do both.
But you can't do both. You can do one or the other. We're working on getting those rules set up because the judging is slightly different for those. You can't use some of the same things you use in a paper book, but you can for digital. So
And we needed to have these set first before we could adjust to it.
Yes, sir.
So will the people uploading like a digital copy, will there be like in Word for that? For the
There's
digital copies?
been a the past, when we've had both, there's been an award for the digital version and the traditional version. So yes, and it's not actually an upload, but all that will be explained. It has to be where we can see it and judge it. So, and I say we because the alumni judge those that conversion. Are there any other questions on your book? I know we didn't cover a lot in it because I don't have the things to hand you, but we kind of wanted to touch base briefly on it for you to let you know that we're doing that. It is coming in some of the things that we see some good ones every year. Okay, that's that. What's next? Is it HIA time?
Okay,
HIA time.
now for the big monstrosity. Okay, are you ready? This is no less important or more important than college project, okay? It's just different. Just a second. Please have another one. Because I like this one. I'm going to actually I'm going to go between, I'm not really going to make this into PowerPoint form because I'm going to use two different PowerPoints and I want to maneuver between the two. Okay? And again, this one, I will edit because I cannot send you this entire thing. I will send you pieces of it. The other one I can send to you, that's not a problem. This one has more along the lines of what the judges are looking for. The other one is more about honors and action. Okay? So I want to make sure that you understand kind of the full pieces of it and then how to write it so where you know what they're looking for. Okay? So it's really kind of a piece in pieces, but I want you to know that both of these are coming directly from headquarters. That's why I wanted to use theirs, not something that I could have put together. Okay? And so that's why I'm going to go back and forth between the two, and I will edit this one to take the pieces out that I cannot share, and then I will send you what I'm allowed to share. Okay? This one actually happens to be from last year, for our training that we had last year, but it happens to have more of the judges' perspectives. Okay? These are from our training that we had from Susan Edwards, who is the Dean over the Honors in Action program, over our honors program with Phi Theta Kappa. This year our training came from one of the board from our honors program, Melissa Fulham, from Northeast Texas Community College. She did our training. And we've been back and forth on phone calls also with Susan, and so kind of a back and forth with lots of people. So we want to make sure that you understand that we have been in contact with the staff, and it still applies, even this one, but I wanted to make sure that you understood kind of where we were coming from as to why I wanted to use the few pieces from this one as well. Okay, and so let me start with this one. All right, and again, I don't want to put it in the bigger forms because this way I can just kind of click on what I have for you. Everybody have access to a book somewhere? Go ahead and open your book. And it doesn't have to be on one particular theme. Just put it on the theme maybe that your chapter used. All right, so that you're comfortable in knowing what you did. That way you can see it. All right. So the idea of honors in action is that you're touching many different areas. All right, you're going to touch it. This is why we have the project. Okay. Interdisciplinary, international, intellectual, important, interesting, in the news, action-oriented, and the last one I I left here was theme oriented, right? Theme oriented because theme is what you did your project around, and that's kind of how we're going to write this, right? Now, don't forget, same thing applies when we were talking about college project. Same thing applies here with the idea that we didn't do our project to win the award. Hopefully that's going to be the end result. Okay, that's the nice sweet bonus that we get, right? However, I still would like to see all of y'all on the stage. That'd be really nice. Okay, we'll be there.
You know, my boys would get very upset with me.
I know, quite a few of them will, right? Some of the international alums kind of, they're like, every time I say that, you know. That's all right, but I still would like to see more of y'all. One of these days, we're going to conquer. We'll conquer. We're going to conquer the stage. All right, so here we go. I want to make sure that we cover this for you guys. All right. So, I remember seeing this one, how you had to do the processes. If you paid attention, it's in your book, okay? It's in your book. We're going to look at that just a little bit. And the way they laid this out was a little different this year, okay? A little different. This one's kind of towards the back. Okay? If you didn't think you got enough, it's coming back to haunt you. Okay? This process is going to help you with some of the questions. Okay? It's going to help you with questions. But we're going to talk about the investigation and the analysis, the strategize and lead and assess and reflect. Well, the act and serve and then reflect and assess and reflect. Okay. But I do want you to know these are some of the key component pages that you're going to use. Did everybody write your journals? Hopefully, yes. Write your journals. You're going to need them. Okay? There's so much information with this one, you just can't remember it all. Right? And again, you know how short that lovely college project is? With the massive size that some of these projects can be. Now, I will say, bigger is not better with honors in action. Bigger is not always better. Okay? You can have, it doesn't have to be a humongous project to get you on that stage. It's about quality. It truly is about quality. Right? And it's research driven. Okay? So I do want you to understand that it really is about you researching and being research driven. So, okay. Couple of other things I want you to consider before we go to the other one and get into the nitty-gritty of really what the judges are looking for. Okay. So with this one, the overarching theme question. So if you're looking at your book, you have it open to whatever theme you were in, right? Got your question. I don't know. Myth and reality, theme 1. It says, how have myths shaped our global reality? Right? Very first one, I'm randomly picking one. Do not tell me which one you did. I want to know. This is yours to have, okay? But that question on here, this question, this is the one that you are answering for your essay. This is your overarching question that you will come back to in your essay. All right? I know sometimes some of you create your own questions, okay, to help you with your research or to help you with some of the things that you're doing. But you will always come back to this overarching question within your theme. Whatever theme that you have selected, it always comes back to this theme, or to this question within your theme. Okay? Okay. some chapters that asked me some questions. I know some information on this particular one. Talks about don't put the cart before the horse, right? The horse has to pull the cart. We're talking about research, okay? You have to do the research first before you can do the project, okay? So, one of the problems some chapters were having, some of them were having a really big problem finding research, finding information. Even though they were doing research, they weren't finding anything on what they were researching. Okay. We're having trouble with it, a lot of trouble. So some of the questions that were popping up is, well, if we can't find the research, and if we do the research to find what we need, does the research then become our project? Because it then becomes action. Because in the past it sometimes could have led that way. Not in this case. Okay? Not in this case. And it just happened that Dr. Mr. Ladner and I have been talking about this, and she kind of giggled at me in one particular sense, and she said, actually, this is the same problem I'm having in my own research dealing with community college data. I know the problem exists, but I can't find the data to back it up. Okay? So she was actually having to create some research and actually go out there and do the research to show what she needed to show. Now, she wasn't tweaking the circumstances. She was finding true data, okay? And that was fine, okay? That was okay. And it still goes towards your research. But you also need to remember that in the research section, first off, every word counts in this section, okay? You're not wanting paragraphs in here, and you need to very carefully select why you chose that particular set of, why that research was important to your project, and you have to tell why. In addition to the citation, so be cautious on your word count. But that research that you're doing needs to be of a wide variety. So you can't have a whole bunch of surveys, or a whole bunch of books, or a whole bunch of websites. Okay? That won't cut it for the rigor of your research. All right? So you really need to pay attention to your research section. Okay? And then for those chapters that were having trouble with this particular section, what I was told on, like, they were really having difficulty, and what was asked of me was, did they research which theme they were interested in? I said, well, yes, they did. And when I asked them about that, they went into a lot of depth on exploring which theme they wanted, and then why they wanted that theme, and then within that theme, what component of that theme they were interested in, and they were like, is that not research too? Like, yes. Okay. So that's some research right there. Okay? And then what was explained to me a little bit more was this particular guide. In the past, the guides have had those questions. For those of you who have seen previous guides, they've had questions that kind of helped lead you and kind of helped kind of focus you on some research. This one didn't do that, all right? And that's okay, which kind of made you have to do more on your own, okay? So maybe rather than focusing so specifically on it, looking more at the bigger picture. Okay? So if you didn't think you had research, take a step back and see the bigger picture first, if you had that research out here, you didn't put the cart before the horse. You actually had done it. You just need to make sure when you're writing it, you show that. Okay? Because if it looks as if you did your project and then went back for the research, it's a no-go. All right? It has to be the other way around. Okay? The research is going to show you the need of the project, but sometimes you have to do research to know it's there. Okay? And in this situation, there's not always the correlations that we were finding in the previous situations. This time it might be you're exploring the idea of myth, which leads you to some kind of reality. All right? Not necessarily this and this at the same time to lead you to the whole. And oh look, the nice hole opens up and there's your project, like it kind of did before. Okay? So that's how you might be able to write these in a different sense, that your research led you in that direction, which then gave you the opportunity to create other avenues. All right, so that was how it was explained to us during our training this year. Okay, and the guide was written differently this time, which caused some chapters, not just in Texas, but we did get calls from Kansas, Ohio, Oklahoma, Arkansas, with very similar questions going, ah! And I'm like, oh my gosh, help. And that's kind of how it was explained to me. And then Melissa turned around and explained it, the same situation. So we wanted to make sure to explain that to you as well. Okay? Okay. Here's another area that kind of tanks when it comes to the points. And this is not just for Texas, although we tend to do okay, sort of. However, we need work on this area as well. Okay, but this is where we can really do well in what we need to work on it. This is where we're looking at the differences between leadership roles and leadership development. Okay, the differences between leadership roles and leadership development. I know some of you are writing, so I'm going to make this one a big slide. This one's super, super, super duper important. Okay? And don't forget, I'm going to email you this PowerPoint. I will email you this one. Okay. When we are talking about leadership roles, okay? When dealing with leadership roles, this is doing. Okay? Think of the leadership roles as doing. Okay? Forming teams, being in groups, goal setting, team collaboration. Organizing, brainstorming, those teams. Feeling really good about getting into teams. We read that a lot in your editing papers. Our chapter created these teams. It's not about titles, by the way. Not about titles. We don't care about our vice president of scholarship, Mary Smith, did this. We don't care about that because this is the chapter that did it, right? The chapter that did it. The chapter creates teams, and they did this. Goals. Okay, leadership development, here's the difference, leadership development, this is about education, instruction, training, workshops. I don't know how to do research. Don't know how to do research. If I don't know how to do research, I'm new. I'm trying to figure out how I do the Honors in Action project. All about research, right? So the advisor knows that we have a whole group of new people. So we come in and the advisor schedules a meeting with who? With who? Librarian, okay, because that's their job, right? Their degree is in research. They're the ones sitting down there just waiting. They're dying for you to come down there and ask them about research. I'm not joking, that really is what they're like. Oh. Okay. So your advisor has scheduled, or someone from your chapter has scheduled a meeting with the librarian. Now maybe you actually have some faculty that are just excellent at research too. So they brought them in, okay? So they bring that person in to train you on how to do research. That's development, right? Because you're having to learn how to do it and you're going to grow from that. These are lifelong skills that you are learning about that you can use in other situations. Okay? That's what you're learning. You're finding things that you're going to grow from, and you're going to be able to use these in other situations as well. Not just, I'm going to do this one thing, this one shot, this one time, and that's it. I'm done. Okay? All right.
But I think what she's trying to point out is where we can use some improvement because we're getting the two mixed up. We're putting leadership, what we think are development, we're putting as it's actually a role. It's not a development that we're doing, or the other way around. So that's just an area that we can improve on. And so we just want to be sure you understand the difference between a role and development.
All right. Oh, yes, question.
Now, I send a lot of officers and I send another advisor to Honors Institute. So I'm not sure. Does Honors Institute, anything that you've learned there fall into that category?
Yes, but here's the problem with Honors Institute, okay? When you go to conventions, everybody goes to convention.
Right.
So do you stand out?
If you explain that if that's all you got.
Right.
Then stand up.
Okay? It is a very good tool, okay? But what else you got?
Okay.
So you probably wouldn't even mention it because it's like everybody did that, and so we want to know.
What specific training did you get to your project? Because the whole point is training to help you succeed in your project that you can use as lifelong skills. Okay? And while I would love to do certain training at those events, we just don't because we can't do it specific to the projects. First off, we could not manage something like that. I cannot even begin to fathom how to do that because there's too many of us. But, yes. It doesn't necessarily matter who played the role. It's more about what roles did the chapter serve? Did you split into teams? How did you utilize those teams?
want to know that we know how, we learned how to delegate, how to effectively run projects, right? So we want to see that.
That would be more because development. See my problem with this one? Okay, so when we're talking about roles, we're really talking about, Debbie, you wanna? Okay, I was just making sure if you wanted to continue, okay. Okay. It's about, say your group creates a PR committee. What did that PR committee actually do? The roles for that committee were creating the flyers, hanging the flyers, sending out emails, contacting the city for this event. What were the roles of, the duties of that group?
Take care of it. It's say, well, in other words, roles to me sound like different elements of what needs to be done. Different tasks.
You're just not.
Types of tasks. In other words, you look at the whole task, you break it down into different
Components.
components. And it doesn't necessarily matter which people did which thing. It's just, you show how you broke it down into different components.
Right, right. And the collaboration, the brainstorming, you had meetings to discuss this component. You had brainstorming meetings because we needed to plan this piece of it. We met with the city planners because to do a project, it required the use of the park. More detail than that, but yes, in a sense, yes.
So what
You're on the right task, on the right train, yes.
So what you've seen, or what's been missing in the past is there's been an overemphasis on who did the things and that they broke up into teams, but without the emphasis on actually breaking it up in more detail on the components and what was actually accomplished in those.
Some of it is also crossing, and they merge development into roles. These are actually two separate questions on the Hallmark entry for honors and action. These are two totally separate questions, and they're double point categories under leadership. Okay. So you have to clearly understand the difference between development and roles, and they cannot cross. If you cross them, you don't get those extra points. And that's where we're losing points, is because people kind of put some of the development into roles, and that's not what it is. And they'll put some of the roles into development, and that's not what it
We're
is.
talking about development and specifically needs to be the education, instruction, training, workshops,
That type of
that
stuff.
can be in.
Yes,
Skills that
that's it.
skills that you learn on how to do your part.
Okay.
Okay, we've got a couple questions here. Is that what's next week? So
Is it a role or is it
we want you to
development?
look and look and tell us if this is a role or development. Question is, a guided discussion between two subcommittee chairs who cannot agree about next steps their respective committees need to take. Is that a role or a development?
Wait.
See how we're having a lot of confusion and I'm hearing two things.
Oh, wait, no, because it's not specific to anything.
By the way, we cannot have both as an answer. It's either going to be a role or it's going to be development.
Development. It's development.
Way to go, Burhan.
Okay, how many say it's development? How many say it's a role?
It's a role. Okay, so the explanation for those who did saying you're the guide. You're guiding them through the discussion. Okay? You're not being trained. You're not learning new information on how to do something. Okay?
You're just doing an action. Then what would be my role?
You're the mediator. Or you're facilitating that discussion. Okay? All right. Next.
Okay, here's another one. The goals and mission, focus on fuzzy, unclear, and okay, how do we say development?
It's a development.
Okay, and how many say role?
How many didn't want to answer?
Yes. It's development because we would have to learn how to figure out how to make it unfuzzy, right? We have to figure out what to do. Okay? We have to get training. We're going to learn stuff. We have to go to a workshop. We're not presenting a workshop because it's unclear. We can't present a workshop if we don't know how.
Well, I mean,
Okay. And then the action part of this is y'all's, what you have done. Okay, just so you kind of understand that component. All right. Let me get to,
Development. Development. Sorry.
he's smarter than me. He's smarter than me.
okay. So you notice I switched to the other one. Here's the judge's stuff. All right. So again, it's about the process. Okay, this is all about the process. You want varied sources, and you want varied viewpoints. When you're talking about your sources, okay, this is question 3. You want varied viewpoints. Okay? That means maybe something for your side, supporting the way that you went. Maybe something against the way you went. Okay? Alright, so you want varying sources here. But you're going to need an explanation as to why you chose that as being significant to what you've done. That you actually looked at all types of reference material and varying viewpoints. Okay? Alright. You also need to show that there is a direct correlation between the honor study topic research and your action. And this is saying that the research you did correlates to what you actually did for your project. They have to tie together. If they don't, what was the point of your research? Right, or your project, okay? Because if your research said one thing, then and your project was something else, why did you do that project? Okay? But you're writing kind of like college project in this one sense. It all has to tie together and flow. All right? That is the only connection, by the way. Yes. Oh, yes. 600.
You do get a few more words.
You get 12 questions instead of 5. Yes. It is on the my.etk.org, okay? And just a regular template with the rubrics and the questions. If you're on the etk.org website, I was showing you guys a little earlier where you can go to the Hallmarks. It says Hallmark Awards. Under the categories, it has the rubrics with the questions.
And the template is better on there.
It's the same thing, and it has the questions. questions, that's all you need. And it's not really a template, it's just the questions. I'll show you.
Here, right?
No. Yeah, it's different. I'll show you at the end, I'll pull it up. Yeah, I'll pull it up for you, because it's just questions, and then the rubric at the bottom. And then when you put in your paper, like in your, when you've logged onto the website to actually upload your submission, it's boxes for the questions, that's it. As the question and then the upload. Yeah, the box for your answer.
I have a question there. There are 3 questions submitted here, showing the samples.
Those are samples.
This is just 3 questions, and then here are 6 questions.
There's more, they don't have all the questions in there.
So it's some sample stuff where it's not the entire entry.
Right.
It not being the entire entry.
And if you were to actually count all those words, it's not 2,600 words either. They do not equate.
How many questions do they have?
There are 12 questions, 2,600 words total. Question 2 is a drop-down box that does not count in your word count. Yes, ma'am. Guys, listen up, please.
So you're just kind of looking at, the one with vulgarity, Greek versus vulgarity. And you kind of reach cursory, and in your discussion, you have to include that vulgarity is necessary in protest. Protest is ugly and vulgar, and that's its power. Okay. Can you set out then, if this is your hypothesis, to look for evidence to support your hypothesis? Or do you have to do the research and formulate your hypothesis?
Well, the catch though is you can write it up that way in your very first question. The way that you, because the first question even in this one is the same way that they phrased question 1 in College Project. Briefly describe your project. You're going to have a lot more components to put in this one though. But you could set it up in that format to start off. After we researched the theme that we were interested in, this is how we set it up. Then we started our, research. Because you couldn't do your project until you did your research. As long as you made it very clear that that project had nothing to do with anything until you did your research.
It's just that part of me is sleepy, so.
I know, it's been a long day to move,
I
right?
got warm and I got even sleepy. And so one of the things that we were having problems because we went to honors and and we had all sorts of questions when we came back. And so we were trying to decide whether or not the purpose of our research was to support the hypothesis that we had created when we went to honors, or was it to look for a question? To go in looking at blank information, just go in and look for research related to vulgarity or research related to reading, and then try to come up with a question. I don't know, it just seems, that's what we would have to problem. Because in psychology, you would start with the question and then do your research.
Right.
Yeah.
And the catch is, here's your question, right here. This is the question, and they're referring specifically to theme 5 with beauty and vulgarity, how do changing classifications of beauty and vulgarity reflect evolving global perspectives. So what you have to remember is, even in your question 1, you're always going to go back to this original question. Okay? Yes? Correct. You're only allowed to put a maximum number of 8 sources on your entry. And they only give you 8 spaces, 8 blocks for references.
You may have,
15, 20.
you may have lots more, but 8 are what you can do.
No, there is no minimum, but there is a maximum, which is 8. They were finding some of the schools would have 10, 15, 20 on there, and some schools would have less than that. So headquarters put a maximum of 8.
So just remember though, if you could do more than 8, that goes against your word count.
Right.
So,
You need to make sure that it is that if you have 8, make sure it is the best 8 that went with your project, but you still need to put, and if I say an abstract, most people think abstract is a paragraph. It's just a sentence or two stating why that particular site or source was so important that it went directly towards your project. Usually the default is MLA. They do take APA, but most people at headquarters suggest MLA because that's what most college students at the community college are comfortable with is MLA. I had a question right here from the student.
Oh, yes. There's only one more time. There are many.
But I don't know that we have too many that go under this word count with the number of questions that are asked. Yes.
I know MLA recently changed like this year, so are they going to be expecting the newest MLA format or?
Yes. They use the latest version of MLA.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I'm sorry to call something
The works cited is in question 3, and that goes along with the 1 or 2 sentences within the word count. Trust me, it kills you. I know.
Okay, she just gave me an idea, this is what I had in my head, but I didn't think it was right. The same thing as the other, where you cite and then you're just going after the project, right? Is that?
That is it. That's the format. That's the format that it gives you. You don't have a choice.
Okay.
Yeah. It's actually laid out that way. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. The last thing on this page that we want to make sure that we point out when you're writing your papers, 2 different things on here. We have in your beginning, one of the things that the judges have mentioned is in your opening, a lot of schools leave out the name of the guide. They leave out the name of the theme. They just get right down to it and leave a lot of stuff out of there. So you might want to mention that. The other one is honor, yes.
So you said that some colleges leave the theme out. Isn't there just a drop, like a
That's
drop box
what
that you're supposed to
what
put
we're
in?
talking about when you're describing the project, an overall description.
They kind of forget what
Not
theme they
mentioning
chose, but that's part of the process. And the question talks about wanting to see that. Well, if part of the process is choosing the theme.
She's not talking about which theme you chose.
But I was exactly the question, what is exactly the theme and why is the theme?
Yeah, you might want to tell a few more details in there, yeah. A lot of people cut that because, oh, word count, cut it. We're going to tell later. They want to see the name of the guy. They want to see these things because they took a long time to pick that, you know. The other thing is, see where on here I have, where it says HIA, and the I is a lowercase I? That's lowercase for a reason. So So please make sure when you're talking honors in action and you abbreviate it, that the I is actually lowercase, it's not all three capitals. Okay. Okay. So here's some other things that we want to talk to you real quick. When we want to, a lot of you write really well on, you tell us what goes on, but you don't show us what goes on. All right? The whole point is that we create the pictures in our heads, in our minds, about what you've done. Right? If we don't get the picture in our head, we've never seen your project. We don't know what you did, but if you don't create the picture, we don't understand it. If we don't understand it, we don't necessarily score you as high as we could have if you had just actually shown us. Okay? So for example, not so good. Okay? It's colder in Latvia and winter than in Iceland. Another one. Izzy is our hardest worker and the greatest asset. Those are okay, right? Sounds all right. Yeah.
It's a little hard to see back here in the back.
That's why I'm reading it. Okay? Why I'm reading it. Okay, first one. It is colder in Latvia in winter than in Iceland. You get that, right? Yeah, it's colder in this city than this, or in this country than this one. Okay. The next one. Izzy is our hardest worker and the greatest asset. Okay, yippee. All right, so here we go. Here's showing. Okay, that one was telling. Now I'm going to read the show. Here we go. The Online World Almanac 2014 shows that the average high temperature of -10 degrees Celsius in January in Riga compares to -2 degrees Celsius in something I can't even begin to pronounce. Okay. It doesn't matter. Okay? Doesn't matter. But did that do a better job than just saying it's colder in one country than another?
Yeah.
Did you get it? Yes. Okay. Here's the next one. Remember I said Izzy is the hardest worker and the greatest asset. Whoopee. Okay. Here we go. Here's the better one. Show the judge, right? Izzy effectively led our Honors and Action team this year by recruiting 5 members to serve on our research team, by inviting the college's research librarian to conduct a workshop for the team on academic research, and setting up a Dropbox folder, sharing it with all chapter members so they can follow our progress throughout the year. Do you know what this Lizzie or Izzy girl did? You know what she did, right? This would be the same thing as when you're writing the individual Hallmark awards, when you're wanting to nominate someone for outstanding officer or outstanding member. The judges don't really care that they were great and hardworking. Every one of you are great and hardworking and outstanding and do really well in your classes, or you wouldn't already be here. I need to know what you did that stands out as opposed to everyone else.
What if you have 18 officers and you're trying to do this for every officer with the...
Have somebody else help.
Well, I think this is more for the individual.
Oh,
More
okay.
so than honors and action.
Right.
But as an example to
But
show
show.
as opposed to tell.
Right.
And you can do the same thing in your Honors and Action project. Show the judges your project, don't tell them about your project.
for honors and action, this may be this team set this up at this versus an individual.
Okay? Make sense? Okay. All right. Some helpful hints from some of the judges. Okay? Get to work even when you don't feel like writing. Especially when you don't feel like writing. Write every day. How many of you have started your Hallmark writing? Laura's pointing to North Harris. Going, raise your hands, okay. Regaining momentum takes 3 times as much energy as sustaining the momentum. Look it up, it's a law of physics. Malene, do you want to share? Our NASA kid. Do you want to share? Am I wrong? No, thank you. Don't do anything else until you've written 500 words. Write at least 500 words before you stop. Don't get up and go pee. Don't do nothing. Write 500 words and then you can do something else. That also means don't answer a text message.
You've got Jay.
Or an email or anything else. Write your 500 words and get started. Because you're going to get distracted. And that means, again, you have to get started back in your concentration back on what you were doing. Okay? Move.
After you write 500.
Well, hopefully you're moving first, okay? How many of you can just go, okay, I'm going to write now? It doesn't really work that way very much, not most of us, right? You got to be just by midnight. Here's the catch. Coming from an instructor's perspective, you don't write well. I'm just saying, it's really not your best work, I promise. Yeah, no, it's really not your best work. Okay? Tip, trick. Get up and move, do something first, then go sit down to write. Okay? If you're writing it as a chapter, which I've seen some of your groups do, go play outside for a while and then come in to write. Okay? That way you've gotten some energy out, and you're moving around, and you've got the creative juices going, and now you can go sit and concentrate for a little while because you've done something. It's really hard when you don't do that. Right? Okay, once you produce a semi-final draft for a section or a chapter, of a section or chapter, have somebody else read it to you aloud. Aloud. Not in your head, not all of you sitting in silence. Have someone read it to the group aloud.
Even if it hurts.
Yeah, even if it hurts. Okay? Yeah. Because when you hear it being read, it sounds so different, and you catch something that you just either didn't intend, or it sounds wrong, or you're like, did we really say it that way? Did we mean that? No, we didn't mean it that way. Hold on, wait a minute. We need to fix this, okay? It's different when you hear it out loud. It comes across in a very different manner, okay? So you want to make sure that you have somebody read it out loud, right? And that while generally most writing is solitary, remember that when you're writing Hallmarks, it's actually very social, okay? You might start off on a Google Doc. That's all well and great, okay? But I'm going to tell you now, if you can get in teams that actually write together, it goes much faster and it's more fun, okay? These are not entertaining things to write when you're sitting at home going, I hate these things, I hate these things. What the heck did we do 3 months ago? I hate this crap. But if you're in a big group and you're kind of going through it, you're going to sit there, hey, wait, didn't you do something? You remember, we were talking about, and then somebody else did that. Hey, wait, hold on. Okay? Then you spark more that you put on here, and you get in good conversations to put stuff on the paper. Okay? It becomes more social, and you're not sitting at home, dragging this out, dreading to have to write these things when you're about to die. Okay? Because it's really hard to write these things.
I'm gonna pull,
Go under your member profile. And you're going to go under Hallmark Awards. No, it's Tomball game. Where's Tomball? I was going to say twice in a row. All right. If you go to right here on Hallmark Award the categories, we've been in this a couple of times, but just so you remember, you go to Hallmark Award categories here, Honors and Action Project Award Application. This is what we've been talking about. Here's the deadline here. Here's the questions right here. Okay, gives you the questions that we've been talking about. All right? And then at the end, all 12 questions, here are the points right below it. It tells you each of the categories that we've kind of gone through. All right? And what the point categories are. Just as a reminder, when you're looking at the points, there's no reason to look at the 7 and the 4. We're going for 10.
But just to answer somebody's question, you asked about minimum sources. Notice, if you only use 4, you're only going to get 4 points. You have to use the 8 sources to get the full points for the category. So keep that in mind. I forgot that was in that one.
Yeah, I wanted to show. But there is not a required minimum. I just
So,
make sure you
just
know.
know if you put it, you're going to get the lower points.
I have a tip/trick for this. When we were writing our hallmarks back when I was a member, we would take this rubric and we would delete everything with the highest points. So when we were answering our questions, we only looked at the highest point categories. We didn't even bother looking at the 7 and 4 points because we wanted as many points as we could get. So that's what we aimed for. It's a little trick to when you're writing your essays to do that.
You also, when you take your sheets, whatever you're typing it on, when you take it, say, to the writing center or you're having someone else edit them, when you're having them look at it, make sure to take this rubric with you as well so they can go through every one of those and make sure you have met at least what they think is all of those points as well. And then that way, they may have some constructive feedback as well for you saying, I'm not sure I see this, or, ooh, you did really well here. Okay? That way, they can help you as well. The more eyes you have on it, the better and stronger your paper can be if you choose to use what they have to say. And again, just make sure you go feedback for grammar, spelling, everything you can think of. Debbie, did you?
Yeah. Just a couple of things. So a process that my chapter has gone through, we actually learned it from some really seasoned advisors within our district, is when we get to a point where we think we're ready to submit, except we're not, right? We just think we are. We go into a room together and we put it up on a board like this, and we go through line by line and make sure that we're answering the questions. So someone's job in the room is just verbally say that out loud, and keep working through it. The other thing is, and I'm going to say that APA or MLA work, and so it's going to depend on the discipline you're in, right? So if you're on the scientific side of the house, you're going to go with APA. If you're on the humanities side of the house with your topic, you're going to go with MLA. And then the only other thing that I would say is bullet points. I understand what they've told you, but the bullet points, for instance, when you get to roles and that kind of stuff, absolutely bullet points. Even with your objectives, it can be, but there has to be more narrative in that. At least that has been my experience and what I've heard from headquarters as well. Yeah, it does. It does. Especially when you're on such a tight word count, right? Not everything can be in that essay.
It sounds like you're saying there's kind of compromise between the two. That you have some prose, a paragraph introduction, but there's okay for the bullet points after that.
And we've seen both sides.
Yeah, and we did really well years back with that type of thing. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Debbie.
Yes.
Can you repeat that bulletin part?
The bulletin,
Yeah.
the bullet. So with respect to like roles and then other people that you partnered with, those kind of things just lend themselves automatically to bullets, right? But also with respect to your objectives, you know, that can be like a numbered list. It's just going to be a little more narrative in each one of those objectives than just a name or something like that. Okay?
Thank you.
Bet.
What all counts in the word count? Because I need to know what side count.
Everything.
Every
Everything.
single thing
Everything,
does
I think,
except
which is-
question 2, which is that drop
Drop
down.
down box.
Which means if you use a long dash, that's not one word. Hyphenated is, but not long dashes. Because I heard a story of some chapter that wanted to use lots of long dashes. They were wise to that, because those are parts of the word. I mean, they're different words.
But here's the thing, when you put it in, it won't let you go over the word count. It stops you and says you're over the word count. So you have to go back and adjust before you can submit.
But long dashes looks like it's long, that it's connected to word is what it looks like.
Oh, and it counts it as one word?
Yes, it
Even though
does.
isn't? Okay, all right. Point well taken. Okay.
Anybody else on this one? Yes.
I have a question. One of our past officers told us that because she did everything on a Word doc and then she tried to copy and paste it and then it messed up. So what should we copy it as and save it?
Do it in an RTF. The best way you can do it is in Notepad or WordPad, not a Word document. It's the back copy that the Word program uses. So when you submit it into this particular program, it adds different characters, which means it adds different word count. It's not the same.
The other thing you can do though is you can put it in, save it, go back, you'll find all those little gremlins, take them out, save it.
Right. You have to go back and edit.
You would
You have to look.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So will you all join me in giving our alumni a big round of applause?